Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast. My name is Paul. I am the Country Hipster. That music you heard was the Unholy Four from Charlottesville, Virginia, and their song Dirty Knife. Are you lip syncing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You fucking dick. You could go. You can check out the Unholy Four on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music.
You changed up the thing. Usually you go Spotify, then Bandcamp.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna fuck with you today. Now that I know you're doing that, Ottsville Record Garage Podcast Specific promo code BABY for the month of August. There's a couple days left in August, so you'll be able to use it for a couple more days, and then we'll have a new one for you in the next week's episode. For September. If you check out our Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode from a few episodes back at the beginning of this month, you can find out how you can save 16% off of your entire order at OttsvilleRecordGarage.com. But for now, you can just save 15% by BABY at checkout. The guy who keeps mimicking me is my brother, the Country Dickhead. So yeah. My co-host Adam, how are you, sir?
What's going on, guys? Paul, how are you?
Doing well. What you drinking there?
Sometimes you want to feel like a winner,
Yeah.
So you go with the blue ribbon, baby.
That's right. I'm not drinking alcohol tonight. I'm drinking just a Bellini. Right. I'm sorry. It's not even a Bellini. It's a strawberry sunset bubbly sparkling water, which is pretty nice. I was actually drinking earlier today. I had a Brews and Vinyl pop up at Naked Brewing in Bristol, PA. So I did have some of their delicious beers today. Had a nice Hefeweizen, actually a couple of Hefeweizens. They have a cool bitter. I did their Lime Louis. So I had some good beers there. And not only was that Naked Brewing, and it was a pop-up record event for OttsvilleRecordGarage.com, but also two of the cast members of the Country Hipster Podcast were there. Tom, the official bartender, was there, and Megan, who does our bonus content, our YouTube exclusive bonus content, our Gen Zer, she was there. But they were there. They were shaking hands. They were signing autographs. It was a really good time. People were coming up and talking to them. But you know who was not kissing babies? You know who was not there?
Would that be me?
That would be my asshole co-host and brother who had better things to do, as well as our resident female rabbit rescuer and expert on everything German, Kristen. She was not there. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. You guys never come to these things.
I would have loved to have been there. But I sent Paul a picture earlier today while Paul was spinning vinyl and throwing back beers. I was sitting on a beach on the Chesapeake Bay. So
there you go. That sounds all right. I guess you have a good excuse. Kristen has no excuse, but I guess your excuse. Oh shit! We lost.
I don't know what it's from, but I found this cool ass looking like little animal bone.
Oh, weird. Yeah,
it reminds me of Ray Fiennes' back in Red Dragon.
Oh, okay. All right, nice. Yeah, it does look like it's some sort of vertebrae for sure.
Yeah.
So we're not here to talk about vertebrae or the fact that my that half of my co-hosts and cast members of the Country Hipster Podcast never show up to support my pop-ups. We are here to talk about Adam's pick for this week. What did you say?
I said one of these days I'm gonna have nothing on my schedule.
You keep saying
and I'll be able to come. Yeah,
but we're here to talk about Adams. This is your second pick of season 2, right? We picked it last week. It is Billy Joel, Glass Houses. So, Adam, hit us with some factoid, buddy.
First off, this is another album that we have already covered the artist.
Yes,
Paul had Songs in the Attic on season 1, which was a Billy Joel live album. This is not a live album. This is actually Billy Joel's 7th studio album, and it was released on March 12th of 1980. It was released on Columbia. Sorry, I'm taking my shoe off.
That's strange.
It was released on Columbia and produced by Phil Ramone. I will get into Phil Ramone's discography in a second, but this is actually the third and final time that Billy Joel worked with Phil Ramone. Phil Ramone also produced Stranger and 52nd Street.
Okay.
So this is, like I said, this is the third and final time. Phil Ramone has also worked with such people as John Coltrane, Peter, Paul and Mary, James Taylor, Aretha Franklin, Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, and Frank Sinatra.
Interesting.
Actually, if I remember reading correctly, I can't remember the name of the album, but it was what they referred to as Frank Sinatra's like comeback album.
Okay. I don't know which one that would be, but
yeah, I forget. Yep. So this album spent 6 consecutive weeks at number 1 on the Billboard 200.
Say that like 5 times fast.
6 weeks. 6 weeks. Six consecutive. I can't even say it once. So yeah, 6 consecutive weeks at number 1 on the Billboard 200. This album features the song "Still Rock and Roll to Me," which was Billy Joel's first single to peak number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. This album came in at number 4 on Billboard's 1980 year-end chart. Was listed as the 41st best-selling album of the 1980s. 41st because it went 7 times platinum in the US, 5 times platinum in Canada, platinum in Australia, and gold in Hong Kong and the UK. In the 1981 Grammys, this album won Best Rock Vocal Performance Male. And he was also nominated that year for Album of the Year, but lost out. I believe he lost out to Christopher Cross.
Okay.
Who was nominated for a self-title. He was also up against Pink Floyd's The Wall, Trilogy, Past, Present, Future by Frank Sinatra, and Guilty by Barbra Streisand.
Okay.
So yeah. That same year, the American Music Awards, he won Favorite Pop Rock Album and was nominated for Favorite Pop Rock Artist.
Cool.
So yeah, that's all the fun factoids I have.
Okay, nice. So, this album, like, how did you get this album? Why are we doing this album? What's what's your background on this album and this copy of this album?
So this album that I own, I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast before. In high school was when I bought my first record, which we covered first in season 1, which was London Calling. So I started getting into records in high school, and growing up, I always remember there being a large collection of records. Not a large collection of records, but a little record collection in the entertainment center in the living room.
Yep.
And I had never seen anybody touch any of those records until I was a freshman in high school, and Dad taught me Skipper.
Skipper. Yep, Skipper. There you go.
Until Dad taught me how to use a record player.
Okay.
And this copy of Glass Houses was in that collection. So when I was getting more into records, we had like moved some furniture around, and the record player was in the living room. The records were in the basement. No one ever touched the thing. I had records that I wanted to listen to and could only listen to when no one was home. So I said, hey, I'm going to put the record player in my room, and I'm also going to take all the records that are in the basement and, put them in my room as well. So this is I don't know if it was Dad's or if it was my mom's, but it was one of theirs, and then I kind of stole / inherited it. So it became mine.
There you
go. Glass Houses, I don't necessarily have a huge connection with this album per se, but growing up, I always remember listening to Billy Joel. Specifically, I remember having the 2-disc CD set of like the essential, like Billy Joel's Essentials or something. Okay. That was always in the car. So yeah, so not a huge connection to this album specifically, but a huge connection to Billy Joel. Every time I listen to Billy Joel, it reminds me of. Have you ever watched the show How I Met Your Mother?
I have not actually. I've never seen it. I know what it is. I've seen a few clips, but I've never actually seen a whole episode.
In one of the, I think it was in like the like third season or something like that. I think the actress who plays Lily and friend of the podcast, Allison Hannigan.
Okay.
She is in a relationship throughout the entire series with Jason Segel's character Marshall, and they are broken up at one point. And while they're broken up, Marshall is like he's dating other people and stuff, and he's dating this girl, and they're trying to convince him to break up with her because she has crazy eyes. Ooh. And he's like telling like how great she is and how much they have in common. He's like, we both like this, we both like this, we both like this. She likes Billy Joel. I like music. So every time I think of listen to Billy Joel, it reminds me of that. But yeah, growing up, I remember always listening to Billy Joel in the car. Always like a staple. It was like Billy Joel, Michael Crawford, and if I remember correctly, actually, Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. So yeah, not a huge connection to this album specifically. Like the album, it's in my opinion, I'll jump the shark a little bit, but it's I think it's a good album. But I mainly wanted to include it on my list this time around, just because growing up, I remember always listening to Billy Joel.
Okay, all right. Is this the only Billy Joel album you own?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's unfortunate. So
yeah. Like I said, like I've never aside for growing up, I was always into the hits. So I was always listening to the essentials. But yeah, this is the only, and I mean, technically I didn't even buy it. I just kind of stole it.
Right.
In retrospect, I would like to get some more Billy Joel. Specifically, I would like to. I really enjoyed Songs in the Attic. I will say I think Songs in the Attic is a better album than this album. Okay. Which from the look on Paul's face, he'll probably agree with me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a copy of Stranger just so I can have someone in the background say, "Play something from Stranger."
Okay.
We only play 80s Joel, sir.
Yes.
So that's another thing. This is 80s Joel. This is 1980.
Yes.
This doesn't fall into like that doo-wop Billy Joel shit that Uptown Girl plays. Still
rock and roll to me is kind of like leading towards that sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I had read when I was taking my notes, I'd read someone from AllMusic describe this album as it's not punk, or maybe, quote, it's not punk, or maybe it's his idea of punk, but this is the closest thing Billy Joel has ever come to a pure rock album.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's when you look at his work, it's his stuff does tend to be definitely much poppier, or even jazzier. So I guess if you wanted to go like pure rock, I guess this would probably be close. But I mean, I think some of his later like stuff, like can't fucking think of the name. The one with "We Didn't Start the Fire" on it. Stormfront. Yeah. Like if you look at that album as a whole, I think that's a little more rock oriented, compared to. But I mean, that's also like later. When you get into that later stuff with Joel, it's also kind of like a whole different type of sound in general. So I think the album is good, but it's not great. It's not a great album. You know what I mean? It's a one-sided album, with the exception of one song on the B-side. Because otherwise it's just like, the side A is hits. That's all it is hits. 4 out of the 5 songs hit the top 40 on Billboard and stayed in the top 40.
That on side 1 is the album opens up with a very Stone Cold Steve Austin Glass Shatter, which is another thing. Growing up, the only thing I was listening to of Billy Joel was like the essential hits. So like it made no sense to me why this song started off with glass shattering.
Okay.
until I had this album, and I was like, oh, that's why it starts off. Right. It gets fucking on the album Glass Houses.
It's Glass Houses.
But yeah, side one of this album is You May Be Right. Don't Ask Me Why. It's All Rock and Roll to Me, and All for Layla. I'm sorry, I skipped over Sometimes a Fantasy is track 2. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's the majority of side A is, Billy Joel staples and bangers. Yeah. Like
the only of those 5 songs, the only one that didn't make it to top 40 is All for Layla. The other 4 songs, like the least like popular one, I think which was Sometimes a Fantasy, hit number 36. So it's still top 40. It just it just didn't go beyond 36. The B-sides, on the other hand, just have 4 songs that are shit and 1 decent song, which I wouldn't even necessarily call it like. It's a good song, but I wouldn't call the song great, But like, even with that, you have 10 songs on there. 40% of this album is top 40, so that is impressive, and I'm not trying to take anything. It's just good. It's not great. It's not a complete album. It's really it's not, because there's even songs like other albums that we've covered, or just that I know that like has a couple hits. And like, even though you have other songs on it that aren't hits, it's still a complete good album. Yeah. Like, I mean, just go back to last week, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. Overall, it's a complete good album. You only had two songs that were releases on that album.
Yeah, so for all intents and purposes, that album is Number of the Beast and Run for the Hills, but that album on the whole is a good album.
Yes. Whereas this is, you have the 4 songs. Well, actually, the first side, which is good, and then the second side is just like, okay, whatever. And we did talk about it, when we covered Songs in the Attic last season. I was about to say last year, and it might have been last year actually, it was last year.
Yeah,
it was last year and last season. My mom, Regina, let's give it up for my mom, Regina there. All right. So she was a huge Billy Joel fan. So, I do have mad respect for Billy Joel and his career. But I think if you take his early albums, like the 7 studio albums leading up to this, because I think once you hit Nylon Curtain, Billy Joel, it's like you have Billy Joel, early Billy Joel, which I would consider up to and including Glass Houses. And then you have the next phase of Billy Joel, which is kind of like everything up the Storm Front, and then you have Keeping the Faith, which I don't think Billy Joel counts with Keeping the Faith and Beyond, but that's just my opinion. But if you look at the 7 albums, right, and those are Cold Spring Harbor, Piano Man, Street Life Serenade, Turnstiles, The Stranger, 52nd Street, and then Glass Houses. Of those 7 albums, I actually feel that Glass Houses is really the weakest of all 7 albums. Even though I know like Street Life Serenade and 52nd Street don't necessarily have the hugest, the biggest of hits and stuff like that on it, I still think they're better albums than Glass Houses. And then if you look, I will say that this is probably considered a core Billy Joel album. And of those 7, there's 4 of those albums that I would consider core Billy Joel. Kind of like, when you talk about Pink Floyd, right, you talk about the 3 albums, right? They have a lot more than 3 albums, but you basically talk about, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall. That is Pink Floyd. If you know what I mean? If you're like, oh, I like Pink Floyd, and these are the 3 albums, those are the 3 albums that everybody identifies with Pink Floyd. I think the 3 albums that are probably most identified, or the 4 albums that are most identified with Billy Joel, even beyond this, are probably Piano Man, Turnstiles, The Stranger, and Glass Houses. And of the other 3, definitely way stronger albums of the core Billy Joel than this. But I still consider this core Billy Joel, Yeah. And even besides that, he's a fucking hit machine. Billy Joel is a hit machine. But that being said, with 40% of the songs being hits, it's a hit machine, but the album's good. It's not great. It's just my opinion.
Actually,
just to add to that.
No, I just happen to be looking at looking some things up on Wikipedia as we're talking, because just trying to figure something out real quick. But actually, I never even realized that this album directly preceded Songs in the Attic.
Yes. Yeah, because if you remember, Songs in the Attic was almost like a compilation album. Like, it wasn't just like one full-fledged live concert. it was taken from different recordings up to and including this album. Of the 7, so it's like almost like a greatest hits, but not quite a greatest hits, and you know what I mean. And they're all live, live recordings, and I like, you know, it's Songs in the Attic, in my opinion, is just kind of a different type of album than the studio albums, just because of the way they put it together and the different concerts with you know, with at least Captain Jack being in Philadelphia. Let's give it up for the Spectrum. So, you know, it's you know, I definitely I do, and probably because it is more of almost like a greatest hits compilation. I do think Songs in the Attic is better than this for sure. But again, it's, you know, it's you know, when you get into like things like It's Still Rock and Roll to Me and the fuck You May Be Right, they're just kind of songs that, like, part of it is just, it's not that they're bad songs, they're just so overplayed. Like, I don't want to hear them again, you know? So it's like, I'm just going to, like, that comes out, I'm just going to skip it. Like, I don't want to listen to it. It's not a bad song.
You've heard, it's not a bad song, but you've heard it 1,000 times. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's okay. So I got to talk about something with this too. If you look at the album cover, which I'm going to bring the album cover up on the screen right now. Ready? And album cover. If you look at the album cover, and then you look at, let's say, the back of my house. Here comes the back of my house. There it is, up on the screen. So why the fuck is Billy Joel throwing rocks at the back of my house, man? Like, that's right into my living room there. Like, look at that. Look at that shit. Look at it.
Yeah.
There's the album cover, and there's the back of my house. This is going to be some, like, post-production fucking magic right here.
Yeah. Actually, seriously. Specifically, the house that he is throwing a rock at is apparently it's a beach house of his.
Okay.
And I was reading something earlier. I can't find where the fuck it is now. I was just reading something on Wikipedia about the album covers.
Okay.
About the cover and the back of the album. But now I can't fucking find it.
That's all right. Well, I know the back has, like, the picture of him with the shattered glass and whatnot, which is, you know, kind of cool. I'd say, you know, here's the back cover right here. Back cover. There it is.
Oh, here it is. Opening with the sound of glass shattering, Glass Houses has a more of a hard rock feel than Joel's previous albums. The cover shows Joel poised to throw a rock through the 2-story window of his real-life waterfront glass house in Cove Neck. On some versions, the back cover shows Joel looking through the hole that the rock made in the glass. This alludes to the adage that people in glass houses should not throw stones. What does the back of my cover look like?
That's him looking through the glass.
No.
Yep.
What is that's what I'm confused with. Like, it said some versions has, like, what mine looks like.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know what other versions look like.
What do the other versions look like?
Yeah. I don't know. Weird. So, and I know one of the things that Sean had asked about last week, he was like, "Oh, let me see the picture inside." And if you see the picture inside, has Liberty DeVito, the drummer, the longtime drummer of Billy Joel, with, like, a watch around his leg. And he's like, "I don't know why he did that." It's like, well, it's very, very obvious why he did it. That's the foot he keeps time with. He's the drummer. So he put a watch around the foot. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe it was obvious to me, but, you know, I'm not a guitar player, so maybe guitar
like
player.
Dad joke.
What's that?
That's a shitty dad joke.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the truth though. Like, he's got the fucking watch around his leg, around his right leg. That's his bass drum.
I got a good dad joke for you.
Okay.
This guy walks up to 2 old women wearing a trench coat. All right. And this guy flashes the 2 old women. One of the women has a stroke. The other one couldn't reach.
Oh, that's pretty good. So, but yeah, no, overall though, it's you know, it's all right. It's a good album.
No.
It's just not a great album. There's better Joel albums, which is why I think you had any other Joel in your collection. But what were you about to say?
No, I don't have another Joel. To add to this album being a good album but not a great album, nominated for the Grammy for Album of the Year, but did not win.
Yeah, so because it sucks.
His 2 previous albums, 52nd Street and The Stranger, didn't win that award.
Oh, he won back-to-back albums of the year.
So when I that's what I was just looking up on Wikipedia. It doesn't say. So if you go on the Wikipedia page for this album and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it'll say, excuse me, one of the categories sections is accolades. So is Grammy Awards 1981 Album of the Year. But then if you go to the page, so if you click on that hyperlink for Album of the Year, it shows that 52nd Street won the previous year.
Okay.
But then if you go to the page for The Stranger, it says 1978 Record of the Year at the Grammys. So did the Grammys change?
No, they always had Record of the Year and Album of the Year. They're two different categories. I never understood it, but they have different categories at the Grammys. They have Record of the Year and then they have Album of the Year. And there's like a lot of like weird like double. It looks like it's like almost the same thing, but for some reason it's not considered the same thing. So yeah. No, there's definitely there's a Record of the Year and the Album of the Year award. And I think one of them's Album of the Year is supposed to be the more prestigious one, whereas Record of the Year.
52nd Street won Album of the Year. The Stranger won Record of the Year. Excuse me.
Right. Okay, there you go. So, but no, man, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this album. I mean, just like I said, it's it was the one like I was when we pulled it. I was actually looking forward to listen to it because I hadn't listened to it in a while, and I've had it in and out of the garage. Like it comes in and out all the time because there's a lot of copies. As you said, it's like 7 times platinum. So you know. So
I believe 7.1 million copies in the United States.
So there's a ton of copies out there. So
which
it does come through the garage. What's that?
I say does not lend well to my reclaiming the big D.
We'll see what happens. But no spoilers. But no, just in general though, like I was looking forward to listening to it, just because I do like Billy Joel and whatnot. And this is an album I've generally been like, all right, and then but actually having to sit there and get into it and listen to the whole album, I was underwhelmed. I really was. I was just generally underwhelmed by it. But like that doesn't mean it's a bad album. It's just I want it for the amount of hits on there. I just wanted it to be a great album, not just a good album, I guess is what it comes down to. So a little disappointing, but not like totally disappointing. It's better than Pizza too. It's not like, well, I still had Pizza. You know what I mean? No, it's not like that. Yeah. It's a better album than it's just Pizza. But no, that's just, I don't know. Do you have anything else to add to your pick?
I also had a similar feeling while listening to it. Like I said, I don't have a huge connection with the album specifically, but do have a huge connection with the artist. Mm-hmm. While listening to it, like I kind of like you said, side A is a juggernaut, and then you get to side B, and it's kind of lackluster. So, like after side A ended, I kind of wish I was listening to like the essentials. Like I wish it was like I wish side A would play, and then next was Piano Man or something like that.
I got you.
Or Uptown Girl.
hey, Uptown Girl. Adam, could you tell our audience about the picture that I sent you earlier this week? As I'm leading you to our next segment.
Hold, please. When did you send it to me?
Monday or Tuesday? I forget.
Oh, you did. You sent me. Paul. Your and mine opinions mean nothing. Yes. What I'm concerned about is the opinion of this sweet little baby angel who just looks fucking miserable while listening to this album, I'm assuming. So what is that sweet, not Billy Joel loving baby angel upstairs think about this album?
So that picture was indeed taken while we were listening to this album, and I did like your response. So just to give everybody an idea of the text message that accompanied.
I forget what I said. I just had the text open too.
Yeah, so I
said something fucking hilarious though.
I sent the picture to Adam and I said, "Does this look like the face of someone who is enjoying glass houses?" And his response was that's a face that says, "Bitch, put on Good Morning Baltimore." which is pretty accurate.
Although I'm very curious, I want to listen to this album with Regina because what's the name of the song? Track 2 on the fucking album.
You may be right.
No, Sometimes a Fantasy.
Yeah, Sometimes a Fantasy. Yeah.
So after the whole little phone and dial tone thing, music starts up. Very, very fucking similar to the Dentist song from Little Shop of Horrors.
Little bit, yeah, but no, she wasn't having it. She wasn't having it. She did not.
I was like, I just imagine it's like the cruelest trick in the world. Like she hears like, dun-dum, and then you think it's going to be like fucking Steve Martin, and it's not.
No, it was not. No, she was not. She didn't like it. She didn't. She didn't like get all like cryy and stuff like that. But definitely was not into this album to the point where once. What's that?
I don't remember. Do you happen to remember what she felt about Songs in the Attic?
I don't think we were doing the Regina Factor yet.
Really?
Yeah, because that didn't happen until Zach was on, which I think was after Songs in the Attic. So I don't know. Actually, hold on. Let me see. Let me see real quick. I might actually
look it up right now.
Let me see. I'll pull up the Songs in the Attic. I have it as an indifferent, so because I don't know because it was before we were doing the Regina Factor, and there were ones where I knew that she felt a certain way, and this was one Songs in the Attic I didn't know because I really wasn't paying attention to the Regina Factor.
Yeah, actually, I pulled it up. Songs in the Attic was 2 episodes before
the Regina Factor actually happened. Yeah. So. Yes, this goes down as a dislike. So Adam, you have 1 like and 1 dislike. I have 2 likes. The listeners have 1 like, 1 dislike, and 1 indifferent, and Tom has 1 like.
So does that mean the first episode, the episode after Taking Back Sunday was the specials? Was the first episode with the Regina Factor the specials?
Yeah.
Which is, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she on that episode?
She was, very briefly, yes. Yeah, she was. She was indeed. There you go. So what are your top 3 songs there, sir?
Top 3, I'm gonna go some hits, and then I'm gonna go a B-side.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Don't Ask Me Why. It's Still Rock and Roll to Me, and then I'm gonna go Sleeping with the Television On.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. So my 3 are All for Lena, Sometimes a Fantasy. And my side 2 song, that's the only one that I thought was pretty good, was J'étais toi, You Were the One.
Interesting.
Do you like that? You like that? How I did French? I can't speak French. I can't speak English.
I don't believe that's how you pronounce that. But
what's that?
I don't believe that's how you pronounce that. But
no, but I know the toi's right. So there you go. Yeah, so that's my top 3 there. My least, I'm going to go first. You could generally say anything from side 2, but with the exception of You Were the One. But more specifically, I Don't Want to Be Alone. To me, that song is a poor man's ripoff in style and a little bit of story of the Pina Colada song.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, do you like Pina Colada? But like, if you listen to like the how the vocal line goes with the story of the Pina Colada song, it's really not that far off. Even the style that he's singing it in is very that up and down singing that's through the Pina Colada song. So yeah, that's probably my my least favorite song on this album. How about you, buddy?
I'm gonna put this right up next to the camera, hoping that it picks up so we can actually hear the proper pronunciation of
C''et-toi.
Whatever. That's not it at all.
That's not even what he says on the album.
No, I believe it's. I specifically listened to it because "C'est-toi" is my least favorite.
Okay, all right, but he doesn't say it right then either, because he says it on the actual song. He says it different than that.
I don't fucking know. I was thinking about, so there's this thing I remember when the movie when they did the movie version of Les Miserables with Hugh Jackman. I remember seeing a tweet from the comedian Patton Oswalt. It just says something about like, went to the movies today and walked up to the box office and said, "Hey, can I have 1 ticket for The Miserables? #America." So I was thinking about doing that something very similar and just poorly butchering how to say it in French and just hashtag
Well,
America.
I took care of that for you there. So. All right.
Yeah.
So Discogs value. So let's get your album here, right? So all right. So yeah, there's your back cover in case you're wondering specifically. There you go. So your record here isn't anything like particularly like special about it. You know what I mean? It is a 1980 pressing. It's fairly certain it's a Pittman pressing based on the etchings. It's if it's not an original pressing, it's a very early reissue. So it's there's 7 million copies of these. It is an early one. I believe it's a reissue just because how the matrix goes. It has like some extra numbers and letters that like an original pressing wouldn't necessarily have. But again, it's probably a pretty early reissue. Now, normally, if this album is very good plus, right, in this particular pressing, I think normally it would, based on supply and demand and whatnot, because there are a lot of copies of this around. Yeah. A very good plus copy of this would probably sell between $7-8 to $12, $12 to $14, somewhere in that range, which isn't bad at all. If that was the quality. Your album's super fucking dirty. I didn't listen to this specific copy, so I don't know if it would be very good plus either way. But normally, like I said, normal retail on that would probably be between $8 and $12. However, Discogs sometimes likes to overvalue stuff at very good plus. So the actual Discogs value as to what we have going on is $20.65, making, with rounding it up to $21.
So worth it.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, but that's what the value goes by. Those are the rules.
Just out of curiosity, you said you've had this come and go in the garage a few times.
Yep.
Do you remember roughly what you sold it for last?
Not offhand. No. Probably in that there's so many factors. I've had it a bunch of times. I've had shitty copies of it, which I've probably sold for $2 or $3, and I've had some better copies of it, which were probably in that $8 to $12. I always try to be as competitive as I can be, and generally when I'm listing on Discogs, I try to be the lowest price in the for the condition. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if the the very good plus, if it's $8 to $12, I'm probably listing it for $6.99 or $7.99, depending on what I've paid for it and whatnot. So I would say I'm probably in that area if I've had a very good plus of it, or but if I only had a good plus, it was maybe $3. So yeah, I've had it in and out a bunch of times, so I can't really say specifically what I sold it for, but. This one does give the Discogs value of $21, so that brings your running total to $51. Tom's running total of $57. The listener's running total of $163, and my running total of $253 there. So based on two albums, we're both based on two albums here, where you're at $51 and I'm at $253.
Goddamn Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Goddamn Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, all right. So give me one more second.
Goddamn you, Sarah Michelle Gellar. You stole all my best roles.
All right. So we are going to grab the box of Mike here, and I want to reach in. We're going to say, Michael Stripe, say hello. Hello. So there you go. Michael Stripe has a voice. You guys didn't realize that. It's pretty amazing. So we're going to see what we're going to get here. All right. I got an envelope here, or an envelope. This is number 4. All right. Let's see what this is.
A white card. It could go either way.
They're all white cards. God.
That's the joke.
All right. Oh, ho, 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 ho,
it's one of yours.
It's one of mine, yes, because I get very excited about these. This is a band that I saw recently in May, and they did it was the 30th anniversary tour of this album. And they did the album in its entirety. What'd you say?
I said you saw Little Kiss?
I saw Little Kiss, yes. and they did Kiss Alive, Little Kiss Alive. No,
Yeah.
it was the 30th anniversary of Sunny Day Real Estate Diary,
Oh,
and
nice.
that is our next album. It's one of mine here, so let me go grab that real quick. Boom, Sunny Day Real Estate Diary. I love this album.
Now, question for you.
Yeah.
Just not to deep dive too much into it. You said you just saw them. Did you have that beforehand, or did you pick that up at the show?
We actually discussed this on the episode in season 1 after I'd seen them. I actually owned this beforehand, so I did not buy a copy of their albums there. There is actually on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com, there is a 30th anniversary pressing of Sunny Day Real Estate Diary, which is on like a clear gray and marble vinyl, which is kind of cool. And that is actually in stock at the Ottsville Record Garage. So if you want to listen to this album, what's that?
You know what that's going for, offhand?
No, not offhand. No, I don't. You think I just know this shit? Like, why don't you go to the website? Like, you're looking up all this shit on Wikipedia. Why wouldn't you go to OttsvilleRecordGarage.com?
I'll say, what's that website? Is that OttsvilleRecordGarage.com?
OttsvilleRecordGarage.com.
Podcast specific promo code baby
for just a couple more days because it's August. And if you go back to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode of this season, just a few weeks ago, you'll find out how to get 16% off of your purchase in August instead of the regular 15% off.
Yeah.
You can get the extra 1%.
Select few.
Yes. So this is cool. I'm excited about this. This is probably, I know it didn't make it onto my 25, but this is definitely a top 20 album for me, like all time album. So this is cool. This is some great, late 90s, early 2000s emo that was done the right way. Actually, if it's 30th anniversary, that's like mid 90s emo. So mid 90s emo.
I really wish I could remember. I literally just saw a video where they were talking about modern music. I can't remember what they were talking about, who was saying where. I'm pretty sure I saw on Instagram, but it was something. The thing that was said was something along the lines of like, you don't get this shit we have today without Sunny Day Real Estate doing what they did.
Yep, and that's pretty accurate with this album here. So I am very interested to get your take on this. Are you gonna mail it in like you did the REM episode, or are you actually gonna pay attention to an album that I think you'll really like?
No, that REM album bored the shit out of me. Now I will say, going into this, I have listened. I know this. I don't know this album, but I've listened to this album a few times. I believe I've talked about it before. Discovering uTorrent and downloading like bands' whole discographies. And there was a book that I used to have called "Everybody Hurts: An Essential Guide to Emo Culture," and Sunny Day Real Estate Diary was listed as one of the essential emo albums.
Absolutely, 100%.
I say so because of that book. I have listened to Diary. I have listened to, and I can't. It was the two albums that stuck out to me were Diary, and I can't remember the name of the Promise Ring album, but it's the one that has B is for Bethlehem on it. So
okay, cool.
So I am familiar with this album. I'm not phoning this in, and I didn't fucking phone in REM. That album's just boring as fuck.
I didn't say you phoned it in. I said you mailed it in.
I mailed it in. Excuse me. Pony Expressed it in. I telegraphed it. I just did Morse code.
Yeah. Awesome. So if you have nothing else.
No, this might even be shorter than the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode.
Yeah, it is. But that's okay. That's all right. Sometimes, sometimes they need to be short. Nothing wrong with the short one. One of the complaints we got about season 1 was that our episodes went on a little too long. So
I will say I sent the podcast to a friend of mine. He's like, "Oh, you guys are long form," and I'm like, "Yeah, we don't fucking we go on for a bit, dude."
Yeah, even with this, we're long form. It's just not super long form. So that's okay. That's all right. We're okay with it. We're trying to get but plus I think we're getting better at what we do, and I think we kind of have it down to a little bit of a science. Yeah. So no, it's all good. So I'm going to
say the same thing I always say. Listen to the album, form your own opinions.
Very nice, very nice. All right, and we will catch you next week with we'll be talking about Sunny Day Real Estate Diary. I'm very excited about this. My third record. What's that?
Any potential guests?
I don't know offhand. I have to look. Possibly, but I don't know.
You have the fucking thing open. I was like, you fucking have it right in front of you, but the spreadsheet's
you could have the website right in front of you too. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Actually, let me look. Is there a potential guest? Are there potential guests? Where did it go? I can't find the album now. Yeah, it's on the list. I just can't find it here real quick. That's kind of crazy.
I'm sure.
Hold on. Yeah, possibly, but this would be one like I assigned to him. Like he didn't actually pick it. But we'll see. We'll see what's up. We'll see if he's available. Because I actually assigned this to him because I thought it'd be interesting to get his take on this album. So, and if we have nothing else, then it is time to